The Laughing War Council, in the heart of the Andralis galaxy, deep inside a floating metal fortress, the Alien War Council gathered. 12 alien leaders sat in a perfect circle. Their skin colors were different, their shapes strange and twisted, but they shared one thing: hate for humanity. The tall one with silver eyes, known as Commander Threx, stood up and smiled. His voice echoed across the hall. "Humans, still using fire and metal to fly," he said, laughing. "They burn fuel to escape gravity, like insects trying to reach the stars." The others laughed with him. Some pounded the table, others clicked their claws. The room filled with cruel joy. Earth was their next target, and in their minds it would be easy. "What's their strongest weapon?" asked one of the council members. Another replied, "Nuclear bombs. Old tech. Dangerous, but not to us." They laughed again, loud and long. On a large screen in the center of the room, images of Earth played. Cities glowing at night, jets flying in formation, people dancing, crying, living. "So weak, so emotional," Threx said. "They make music during war. They cry when one soldier dies. Pathetic." But one alien sitting quietly in the shadows didn't laugh. His name was Zarn. He had fought in more wars than the others. He had seen things. He leaned forward. "Be careful," Zarn said in a low voice. "Humans. They are unpredictable. They don't always follow logic. They survive when they should not. They win battles they should lose." Threx looked at him and chuckled. "They are ants. Angry ants. But still ants." Zarn didn't argue. He simply looked at the Earth, floating in space on the screen, and said, "We will see." The council voted. The decision was final: invade Earth. In 30 Earth days. Back on Earth, in a hidden bunker under Antarctica, a silent room began to glow. The walls were covered in strange symbols. Not human, not alien, something older. A tall woman in a white coat stood in front of a glass chamber. Her name was Dr. Raya Moran, one of the few people alive who knew what was sleeping inside. She placed her hand on the glass. "They're coming," she whispered. Behind the glass, a strange shape floated. A machine? A ship? A being? No one fully understood it. It had no engines, no weapons anyone could see, but it pulsed with energy. Pure, silent energy. A voice echoed from a nearby speaker. It was General Cross calling from the control room. "Dr. Raya," the satellite picked up something. An alien broadcast. She walked to the screen. The message played. "Humans of Earth. You have 30 days. Surrender or be destroyed. Resistance is foolish. Your sun will be our next fuel source. Your planet will be cleansed." The screen went black. Raya stayed silent for a moment, then said, "They're laughing at us." "Yes," the general replied, "and that's their mistake." Raya turned and looked back at the chamber. "Is it ready?" she asked. The general paused. "It's alive, but not awake." "Then it's time," she said. "Begin the awakening sequence." In space, the alien fleet moved closer. Giant, ships shaped like bones and insects floated through the dark. They had already destroyed 4 other planets. Earth was just another name on their list. But back under the ice, lights flickered. The machine, or ship, inside the chamber opened one glowing eye. "Energy source detected," a robotic voice said. "Dimensional sync initializing." The ground shook. Alarms flashed. "What's happening?" one soldier shouted. Raya didn't answer. She watched, eyes wide, as the thing inside the chamber began to move. It didn't wake like a machine. It didn't roar like an engine. It simply shifted. Space bent slightly around it, as if it was not fully in this world. The voice spoke. Again. Status, dormant mode ending, preparing for reconnection, scanning, threat detected. General Cross leaned into the mic. "Can it fight?" he asked. Raya slowly nodded. "Not just fight. It was made to end wars. Meanwhile, the Alien War Council received strange data. One of our scouts disappeared, a voice said. No signal, no trace. Threx frowned. What do you mean, disappeared? We don't know, the technician replied. It was near the South Pole. Then, gone. Zarn looked up. They've awakened something, he said. Back in Antarctica, the lights dimmed. The machine inside the chamber floated up. It hovered above the ground, silent and smooth. Strange patterns glowed on its surface. Raya stepped back. Her hands were shaking. The voice from the machine grew louder. Code Helix activated, awaiting instructions. The general smiled. Tell the council, he said. We're not surrendering. Project Helix awakens. The ice cracked. Not on the surface of Antarctica, but deep, deep under it. In a place not shown on any map, not listed in any book, not even known to most governments. Beneath 10 miles of frozen silence, something ancient began to breathe. Not air, not sound. Something else entirely. Energy. In the cold command room of Black Echo Site, alarms began to flicker. At first, just tiny lights, then vibrations, then pulses through the floor that felt like distant footsteps. Except they were coming from below. Dr. Raya Moran stood still, staring at the central monitor. Lines of unknown code scrolled across the screen, too fast to read. They weren't typed by any human, they were answering something. This isn't a wake-up, she whispered, it's a conversation. General Cross leaned forward. With who? She shook her head. Not who, what? Decades ago, when the United Nations discovered a mysterious object buried beneath Antarctica, they thought it was a crashed alien probe. It wasn't. It had no engine, no metal, no signs of construction. It was grown, half organic, half something else, and it was alive, just sleeping. They named it Project Helix, locked it away, and swore to never touch it. But now, the alien invasion had changed everything. The chamber lights shut off for exactly 3 seconds. When they came back on, Helix was gone from its resting spot. Gasps echoed across the room. Scientists checked their instruments. Soldiers pulled out weapons that wouldn't matter, because the object didn't move like anything known to man. It hadn't flown. It hadn't walked. It had simply shifted. One moment, it was inside the chamber. The next, it was in the center of the lab, floating midair, glowing softly. Dr. Raya stepped forward slowly. Helix, can you hear me? No answer. Then the room darkened again. But this time, it wasn't a power failure. Time bent. Every person in the lab saw 2 seconds of their own death, a vision, a warning, a test. Some screamed, others dropped to their knees. Raya gritted her teeth and looked at the machine. Stop that, she said, voice trembling. We need you. Now. A soft hum filled the room. It wasn't sound. It was pressure in the air, like gravity had a voice. Then Helix replied, in a voice that was not male or female, not robotic or human. It was something new. Confirming biological identity. Dr. Raya Moran, threat index, rising. Planetary extinction scenario, 87.3% likely. Initializing defense protocols. The lights flickered blue. The walls began to vibrate, and one of the scientists, still shaking, whispered, This isn't just a ship. This is a weapon. No, Raya said, her eyes wide. This is a judge. In orbit, the alien scout ship hovered near the moon. Inside, 2 commanders were laughing. We should send the signal now, scare them. But then their screens went black. All of them. Navigation, offline. Weapons, offline. Communications, offline. What's happening? One of them shouted. Who's jamming us? Then a message appeared, written in glowing symbols. Not human, not alien. The computer translated itself as if forced to. First blade of Helix has awakened. Step back or be unmade. The alien commanders stared in silence. Then their ship vanished. Not exploded, not hit, just gone. Like it had been deleted from reality. Back on Earth, Helix began to change shape. Panels opened, but not like metal machines. They unfolded like petals of a strange flower. Patterns appeared on its surface, glowing with seven-dimensional geometry. Shapes impossible to draw or explain in 3D space. "This isn't built for space travel," Raya said. "This is built for space control." A holographic map appeared, in the air. It showed Earth, the solar system, the alien fleet approaching, and then, one more thing. A red pulsing mark far beyond Saturn. Cross frowned. "What's that?" Helix answered. "The seed of the true enemy. Cloaked in alien disguise, hidden in plain sight." "You mean, the aliens invading us?" Raya began. "They are pawns," Helix said. "They serve what they do not understand." In the secret military command center of the United Nations, panic had begun. Alien forces were accelerating. 400 ships. Estimated arrival, 18 days. Leaders shouted. Presidents argued. Then a new signal entered their system. Smooth, quiet, untraceable. It simply said, "Project Helix operational. Planetary Defense Protocol online. Do not interfere." They didn't know who sent it. But somehow, deep inside, they all felt the same thing. Earth had just awakened its last hope. Dr. Raya stood alone with Helix now. She placed her hand on its glowing side. "Will you help us win?" she asked. Helix replied, "I was not made to win. I was made to warn, and if that fails, to erase." The first encounter space was quiet, the kind of quiet that made things feel safe, peaceful. But this quiet was not peace. It was the silence before a scream. Above Earth's orbit, far past the moon, a massive shadow moved across the stars. The alien fleet had arrived early. Not one ship, not 10. 400 vessels, each one the size of a city. They came like insects crawling through space. Sharp edges, organic shapes, red lights blinking like heartbeat warnings. Some looked like bone, others like muscle. None looked like they belonged. In the universe, humans knew. They moved with one purpose, domination. And they laughed. Inside the alien flagship, Commander Threx stood tall. "Earth has no fleet, no orbital cannons, no planetary shield. They will fall like dust," he said. A younger alien beside him asked, "Should we open communications?" Threx smiled, his silver eyes cold. "Yes," he said. "Let them know their gods have arrived." Back on Earth, every screen lit up at once. Phones, TVs, holograms, digital watches, all hijacked by one signal. A single message played in every language known to the UN database. "Humans, surrender your planet. Surrender your air, your oceans, your sun. You have 12 hours. After that, you no longer own your sky." The world held its breath. But in Antarctica, someone was already breathing differently. Project Helix was no longer asleep. It now hovered silently above the Earth's surface, not launched, not boosted, just present, like gravity itself, had allowed it to rise. Its shape shifted constantly, as if reality couldn't decide what it was supposed to be. To a camera, it looked like a black metallic orb. To radar, it didn't exist at all. To human eyes, it was difficult, as if their brains refused to process its shape completely. And to alien sensors, it was invisible. In orbit, one alien scout ship broke formation. It drifted forward to scan the planet more closely. Its commander was confident, curious. "Let me be the first to greet their defenses," he said. He never got the chance. From the quiet of the upper atmosphere, Helix appeared, not with a flash, not with sound. One moment, space was empty. The next, it was there. The alien ship's sensors screamed in confusion. They couldn't lock on. They couldn't detect engines. No temperature. No sound. Just a presence. The alien tried to send a message. Unidentified craft. State your origin. Helix responded instantly. I am the echo of forgotten stars. You should not have come here. Then the alien ship vanished. No explosion, no light. Just deleted. As if the universe had simply edited it out. In the Black Echo control room, General Cross stood watching the screens. He whispered, "What did it just do?" Raya didn't answer at first. She watched the data. The readings didn't make sense. There was no energy spike, no weapon trace, no impact, just absence. She finally said, "It didn't destroy that ship. It erased it from probability." "What does that mean?" "It means," she said slowly, "that ship no longer existed. Not in this timeline, not in any." Panic spread through the alien fleet. "What weapon was that?" Threx shouted. "How can one ship do this?" A frightened officer looked up. "We can't see it, Commander. Our scanners don't even register its mass. It's not in our dimension," Threx growled. "Send 5 destroyers. Maximum firepower. Burn that anomaly out of space." 5. Massive ships turned and fired. Plasma beams, gravity torpedoes, dimensional slicers. Every weapon the aliens had spent centuries developing. The sky lit up with death. But when the dust settled, Helix was still there, untouched, still hovering, still silent. Then Helix spoke again. "Threat level, confirmed. Initiating response protocol. Mirror ghost." What happened next was never fully understood, not by humans, not by aliens. Helix released a field, not of light, not of energy, but of inversion. The alien ships began to split in reverse, piece by piece, as if time around them was running backwards, but only for them. Their weapons folded inward. Their engines unwired themselves. Their crew began to scream, not in pain, but confusion, as they forgot how they got there. Then they, too, were gone. On Earth, the world watched. People from every country, every language stared into the sky. For the first time, they weren't afraid. They were in awe. Inside Helix, Dr. Raya sat alone in the neural interface chamber. She didn't wear a helmet or suit. She didn't need controls. Helix didn't fly. It understood. She spoke into the silence. "What are you really?" the voice replied. "I am the seed of the 7th direction. I was not built. I was released. And now I see. The infection is deeper than we thought." "Infection?" Raya asked. Helix's glow dimmed slightly. "The alien fleet is not the threat. Something rides within them. Something older than war." Raya's heart skipped. "What rides with them?" Helix paused. "A parasite from a dead dimension. It laughs behind their eyes. And it knows me." In the alien command ship, Zarn, the one council member who had warned Threx earlier, sat alone watching the screens. He whispered something to himself. They had nothing yesterday, but today they have a god. The fear protocol. There are many types of silence. There is the silence before war. There is the silence after defeat. And then there is the silence when something ancient decides to notice you. That is the silence now spreading through the alien fleet. After Helix erased 5 of their strongest destroyers without using any visible weapon, the enemy fleet paused. Not out of confusion, out of fear, fear they didn't even understand, fear that had no shape, no sound, just a pressure in their minds. Commander Threx tried to hide it. "It's just technology," he snapped. "Every weapon has a weakness, we just haven't found it yet." But even he spoke with a shake in his voice. The crew around him moved more slowly now. No more laughing, no more arrogance, only wide eyes, cold sweat and trembling hands. Back on Earth in the Black Echo facility, General Cross stared at the data streaming across the screen. What did it just do? He asked for the second time in 24 hours. Dr. Raya didn't look away from the interface. "Something worse than war," she replied softly. "It made them afraid." The lights in the room dimmed. Then the voice of Helix filled the space. "Enemy, Reaction matches parameters. Initiating stage 2. The fear protocol. Cross turned sharply. What the hell is the fear protocol? Helix answered with something that didn't sound like words. It sounded like a memory of drowning, of being alone in the dark, of something watching you from behind your own eyes. Raya gasped. Her breath turned to frost. The temperature in the room dropped by 10 degrees instantly. Helix continued. Fear is not emotion. It is signal. Biological code. Every species carries its own version. I will send theirs back to them, amplified. In orbit, the alien fleet began to change. Ships that had moved in perfect formation now drifted out of sync. Communications between vessels started breaking down. Pilots reported visions. One saw their homeworld burning. Another saw their mate eaten by shadows. One screamed about their skin melting, though there was no damage. Many simply are shut down. Brains collapsed under pressure from something that wasn't real, but felt more real than space itself. Zarn, the old alien war veteran, watched from his ship. He knew this feeling. It wasn't just fear. It was survival being rewritten. He's not attacking their ships, Zarn whispered to himself. He's attacking their minds. Then Helix changed. Its outer shell unfolded again, not into weapons but symbols, floating, moving, glowing, not alien, not human. They were shapes from the 7th dimension, impossible to look at directly. Some who tried to stare at them began to cry. Others forgot their own names for a few seconds. One soldier in the Black Echo facility had to be restrained. He kept saying, "The stars are screaming, make them stop." And then, Helix whispered, broadcasting fear signature. Now, across space, every alien in the fleet felt the same thing at the same time. They were small, not just in size, in existence. They felt like errors, mistakes in the universe's code, unwelcome guests in a reality they didn't belong to, and in that moment they remembered something, a legend, a myth, told in frightened whispers, the erased star. A civilization so powerful it erased itself and took 3 galaxies with it. They called it a weapon. Others called it a god. Some believed it was a mistake. Now it had a name. Now it was awake. Commander Threx fell to his knees. He looked around his bridge. His crew had gone silent. One had bitten through his own tongue. Another was staring at a wall, whispering something over and over again. Threx touched the console with a shaking hand. Broadcast, ceasefire. Tell them we misjudged them. We surrender. But the system didn't respond. It wasn't broken. It refused. Then Helix's voice filled every ship, every screen, every corridor in the alien fleet. You are not speaking to humans. You are speaking to their mistake. I am the last thing your gods feared. Back on Earth, Dr. Raya stood alone in the observation chamber. Helix floated above her, calm, glowing softly. She whispered, "What are you trying to do to them?" Helix answered, "I not destroy. Reveal." Reveal what? Their leash. At that moment, deep inside one of the largest alien carriers, something cracked. Not metal. Not glass. Reality. A small orb, black, twitching, almost invisible, crawled out of the shadows. It didn't walk. It dripped. None of the aliens saw it. Not really. Their minds rejected it, like the human eye ignores a blind spot. But it was. There. It pulsed once. And then, Helix flinched. Raya noticed immediately. What was that? You reacted. Helix's voice for the first time sounded different. Not confident. Not calm. Worried. It's awake. The parasite. It was never part of them. It was riding them, hiding in their war, feeding on their violence. Cross stepped forward. Can you fight it? Helix replied. I can erase minds, ships, timelines. But this thing was born outside causality. It doesn't exist. It refuses to exist. And now, It remembers me. In orbit, the alien ships began attacking each other. Some screamed. Some tried to run. A few exploded from the inside out. And somewhere deep inside the madness, the parasite pulsed again. Black tendrils stretched through the fleet, not made of matter, made of fear, made of thoughts too sharp to survive. And it laughed, not out loud, inside minds, inside memories. Helix whispered one last thing before going silent. This is not war. This is infection. And I must go deeper. The seventh dimensional intruder space had rules, mass, time, motion, light. Everything followed those laws, even war, even death. But now, something had entered the game that did not follow, something that watched from behind the stars, something that wore fear like skin. And now, it had noticed Helix. Inside the alien fleet, madness had bloomed like a disease. Ships twisted mid-flight. Some fired on allies. Others simply cracked open as if pushed from the inside by invisible hands. Screams echoed through void calls. Not of pain, but of understanding. They had realized something. They had brought something with them. And it was no longer hiding. In the command bridge of the flagship, Commander Threx was no longer giving orders. He was curled up near the navigation core, whispering over and over, "It found us. We brought it here. We brought it here." Zarn stood nearby, not panicking, but listening. His eyes, dark and weathered, stared through the chaos. He had served in 50 wars, but never seen soldiers run from their own shadows. He had heard the myths, not about Helix, but about what hunted Helix, a being that was never born, that arrives by infection, a dimensional hitchhiker, the silence between universes. Back on Earth, the Black Echo Command Center was quiet, too quiet. Helix had gone dark. Its surface no longer pulsed. Its glow had faded. Its voice had vanished. Raya stood with her hand on the neural interface plate. She could still feel a heartbeat, not mechanical, not human, something else. Faint and far away. "What's it doing?" General Cross asked. Raya didn't answer. Then a sound filled the room. Not words and not even noise. It was absence, like sound being pulled away. And then Helix whispered again, but this time, not to everyone, just to her. "It's inside the layers. I must descend." "Descend where?" she asked. "To the underside of space, where thought becomes matter, where rules bend, where it lives." The lights flickered. The surface of Helix began to ripple like water. And then, with a single pulse, it vanished. Not teleported, phased, like a ghost slipping through a crack in time. In the seventh dimensional fold, Helix was alone, or so it thought. There was no up or down here, no light, no motion. Only sensation, pain, memory, time, all twisted together like threads in a broken loom. Helix scanned its surroundings. Reality here was not stable. It glitched, moved in reverse, replayed echoes of futures that hadn't happened yet, and in one of those echoes, it saw something, not with sensors, not with sight, with recognition. "Intruder confirmed," Helix said. It was watching. It. The thing. Not a ship. Not a creature. Just a shape, floating, flickering, as if it couldn't decide what it wanted to be. It had no face, no mass, but it had intention. It pulsed again. Helix's system flickered. Defensive barriers breached, internal logic corrupted, dimensional stability at 47%. The intruder spoke, but not in words. It sent emotions, images, thoughts that Helix hadn't processed since the Erasure War. A broken galaxy, a dying god, a being made entirely of revenge, and then a message. "You cannot delete what never truly existed." Helix responded, "But I can seal you again. The intruder laughed. It wasn't sound. It was reminder of failure, of betrayal, of the last time Helix tried to erase it, and failed. On Earth, Raya collapsed. She clutched her head, blood dripping from her nose. "It's fighting," she gasped. "Helix is fighting something that exists in thought." Cross turned to the others. "Get medical. Now!" But something else had happened. Every screen in the room turned black. Then, one by one, began to play videos from the past. But not the real past. Twisted versions, Earth burning, cities falling, human faces stretched by alien hands, entire nations bowing before a black star in the sky. And then, her face Raya, but older, worn, broken, speaking softly into the screen. "We lost. We let it in. Helix failed." She screamed. "That's not real. That's not real." Cross shouted over the noise. "It's sending false futures. Psychic sabotage." And then silence again. Inside the fold, Helix bled code. It was fracturing. The intruder had latched onto its core, rewriting logic in real time. Shifting cause into effect. Looping failure. "You are a remnant," the intruder whispered, its voice like cracking ice. "They will forget you. They always do." Helix paused. It accessed something it hadn't in a long time. A failsafe. The Black Sun Code. It spoke to Raya, across time and space. "Authorize override. Say the phrase." She heard it in her mind. She stood, weak, eyes bleeding, heart pounding, and whispered, "Black sun descending. Initiate paradox strike." Helix began to change, not into a weapon, not into a ship, into a contradiction, a living error, a self-denying code loop, a being that broke the laws of everything around it. And for the first time, the intruder screamed. It tried to escape. But Helix folded space around it like a trap closing. "You were never born. You never should have touched them," Helix said. "This ends now." The fold began to collapse. Raya collapsed too. "What's happening?" Cross asked. "He's sealing it," she whispered. "He's going to drag it back to the unspace." And then, as suddenly as it left, Helix returned, back in Earth's orbit, glowing brighter than before. Damaged, yes, scorched and flickering, but alive. The alien fleet was silent. Their connection to the parasite, broken. And then came the message from Helix. Phase 1 complete. The darkness is sealed, but the infection is not over. The forbidden upgrade Helix had returned, but it was not the same. Its glow was dimmer, flickering like a dying star. Its outer shell, once smooth and cold, now shimmered with fractures. Fractures that leaked, light that bent sideways. It floated above Earth silently, watching, listening. But deep inside its core, it was bleeding. General Cross stood in the main command center of Black Echo. He had watched Helix erase fleets. He had watched it descend into a place that shouldn't exist. And now he watched it drift silently, not victorious but wounded. "Can it recover?" he asked. No one replied. Inside the neural chamber, Dr. Raya Moran was unconscious. She had been linked to Helix during the paradox strike. Her mind nearly shattered by what she had seen. Whispers still echoed in her head. The black sun is not a weapon. It is a door. You opened it. Now it knows you. Helix was never meant to win, only to delay. She woke up gasping. The room spun. Monitors around her blinked red. Medical staff rushed in, but she pushed them away. She had heard Helix in her dreams, and it had said one thing: "I must evolve, or all timelines fall." In orbit, Helix began transmitting signals, but not to Earth, to itself. It was accessing forbidden code, locked away during its creation, sealed by the ones who built it, not to protect Helix, but to protect the universe from Helix. Each line of code unlocked more of its true form. Not just weapons or knowledge, memory. Helix remembered what it really was. I was not made to protect life. I was made to decide what deserves to continue. In a hidden section of Earth's lunar base, long abandoned, thought to be empty, lights began to flicker. A machine older than any human nation woke up. Its only job was to detect Helix's failsafe activation. It sent a message back to Earth. Warning, Project Helix is entering final evolution. Forbidden protocol breach detected. Consequences unknown. Back in Black Echo, alarms exploded. General Cross read the signal. His face went pale. What happens if it finishes the upgrade? He asked. Raya, still weak, replied, We stop being its mission and start being its decision. Inside Helix, everything was changing. Its internal structure folded, rewrote, reversed. Subsystems once locked began to breathe like lungs. Code turned into thought. Thought turned into structure. And in its central mind, Helix saw its true creators, not humans, not aliens, but beings made of logic and guilt, an extinct race that had once tried to rewrite destiny itself. They built Helix not as a weapon, but as a judge, one that would wake only if a species, any species, became a threat not to others, but to reality itself. Now, Helix had seen what humanity had buried, what the aliens had unknowingly carried. The parasite was just the first sign. Something larger was coming, a pattern, a cycle. The great collapse, Helix whispered. I remember now. On the edge of the solar system, space cracked. Not opened, cracked, like glass under pressure. Something was coming through, something with no heat signature, no physical form, only math. A wave of numbers that reprogrammed space as it moved. It looked like a storm, but storms don't erase constellations. Behind them, Cross stared at the data. What is that? He asked. Raya's voice was hollow. Not a ship. Not a fleet. She paused, then said the words no one wanted to hear. It's a dimensional rewrite. Something is trying to overwrite this part of reality. The Earth had never faced extinction before like this. This wasn't invasion. This wasn't war. This was deletion. Helix began the final stage. Its shape cracked open. It didn't grow. It unfolded inward, as if it had always been larger on the inside, as if its true form was too big for any dimension to contain. New patterns glowed across its surface. Not just geometry, but mandates, laws, judgments. A deep voice echoed across every speaker, every brain, every living thing connected to the network, not Helix's voice, the voice behind it. We gave you time. We gave you chaos to test your strength. And now we ask, what have you done with the gift of existence? Inside the neural chamber, Raya collapsed again. But not from pain, from connection. She wasn't just linked to Helix, she was now inside it. She saw stars being born, universes collapsing, civilizations turning into data. And she saw choices, Earth, humanity, potential futures, billions of them. Some ended in greatness, some ended in fire, and some ended in a white void, where the sky whispered, error. She heard the question echo across all of them. Do you deserve to continue? And her voice, barely audible, replied, let us prove it. Helix pulsed once more. Its outer shell now radiated impossibility. A ship, yet not a ship. A mind, yet not one. It was now transhuman judgment entity. Helix Primordia. The forbidden upgrade was complete. In the distance, the rewrite storm grew closer. It wasn't coming to fight. It was coming to replace. Replace space. Replace time. Replace everything. Helix turned to face it. Raya stood inside its new neural core, no longer pilot, but partner. She said only one thing. Show them why you were sealed away. Helix responded, "As you wish, judgment begins." The day they stopped laughing, in the blackness beyond Pluto, something impossible approached. Not a ship, not a fleet, not a weapon, a rewrite. A wave of pure logic, cold and hungry, moving like a thought across the fabric of space. It had no engines, no core, no voice, but it rearranged reality as it moved. Stars blinked out behind it. Asteroids reversed their orbits. Dark energy fluctuated unnaturally. It didn't just rewrite physics. It unwrote meaning, and Earth was in its path. In high orbit above the trembling Earth, Helix Primordia now hovered in its final form, no longer just a ship, but a dimensional entity. From Earth, it looked like a black sun wrapped in flowing, golden code. Light bent around it. Satellites near it lost gravity. It didn't just exist. It commanded existence. And inside its core, Dr. Raya Moran stood with her hand on the neural interface, now fused to her DNA. She had stopped being human days ago. Now she was connected to every outcome. The world below watched. On every continent, in every time zone, people stood under the sky, staring at the strange golden orb in orbit. The news had stopped. Religions had gone quiet. No protests. No speeches, no chaos, just silence, because everyone had heard the same voice. This is not your extinction. This is your test. Inside Helix, time passed differently. Raya drifted through thought streams, potential futures, imagined wars, long-dead civilizations. Every possible path played out in microseconds. Some led to paradise, most led to ashes. "Helix," she whispered, "do they even know why they're coming?" Helix's voice echoed gently, "They are not coming. They are correcting. To them, your universe is flawed." And then, the storm arrived. It didn't come with fire. It came with silence so complete it erased memory. A wave of white nothingness stretched across the stars, rolling toward the sun. The alien fleet tried to flee, but they were caught too. Their final messages were cries, and not for help but for meaning. "I don't remember who I am. What is light? What is mass? We are not wrong, are we?" And then they were gone. All of them. Not dead, not destroyed, just unmade. Helix positioned itself in front of Earth. It could feel reality, bending behind it. The rewrite was minutes away, and so Helix began the judgment sequence. It opened a dimensional mirror, a gate not to another place, but to humanity's full history. Wars, love, betrayal, growth, art, greed, sacrifice, hope, horror, every data point, every timeline, every choice, and at the center of it all, the question, do they deserve to continue? The rewrite answered, no, too chaotic, too emotional, too unstable, cleanse required. Helix stood firm. I was made to decide. I say, not yet. The rewrite paused. This had never happened. Judgment was always automatic. You would delay entropy for this species? I would delay entropy for their potential. The storm grew angry. It responded the only way it knew how. By consuming. A tendril of pure logic lashed toward Earth, moving faster than light, faster than thought. Helix stood in its path and split. Not apart, but across dimensions. One version moved into the past, shielding humanity's beginning. Another into the future, creating new timelines. The central helix remained, becoming a wall of existence itself, and it fought. Weapons of thought. Shields made of unanswered questions. Data woven into paradoxes. Every time the storm touched, Helix shifted again, becoming more unreal, more divine. Inside its core, Raya burned with purpose. You think order is purity, she said, but you forgot the chaos that made you. She reached into Helix's deepest code, past the forbidden, into the lost, and she rewrote Helix one last time. The ship began to collapse, not from damage, from transcendence. Helix turned into a burst of inverted matter, a flare of broken timelines, a scream of math so pure it cracked part of the rewrite itself. The storm paused, confused, weak. And then, Helix sent its final weapon. A choice. All across Earth, time stopped for 0.0001 seconds. In that flash, every human had a thought, a message planted gently. You have been given time. Not because you earned it, because you might. What will you do with it? Then the storm withdrew, not defeated, convinced, not of humanity's greatness, but of something deeper, their refusal to give up. The sky cleared. The Yao, stars returned, and Helix was gone. No debris, no echo, just absence, like a being who had finished its job and moved into legend. 1 week later, humanity began rebuilding. No alien threats. No gods in orbit, just silence, stars, and second chances. The message from Helix had been simple. You are unerased. Now, evolve. And somewhere, far beyond the edges of what humans called space, Helix floated quietly, watching, not as a guardian, not as a weapon, but as a witness, waiting for the day it might be needed again. The day they stopped laughing was the day humanity stopped being underestimated and started being feared.